Hi, everybody. Welcome to the second workshop in this three-part series covering theories of change. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Dutilly of the Western Institute for Education, Evaluation, and Consulting. Today, I'll be giving a 5-minute overview of the 1.5-hour workshop. The topic today is making theories of change. So we're going to get straight into the practical nuts and bolts of creating a theory of change and what they're made of, how they work. And today we'll be covering the historical roots of the theory of change, the fundamental vocabulary and concept from which they're built, and I'll give you an overview of the upcoming third and final webinar. Again, my name is Dr. Eric Dutilly, and I am the founder and president of the Western Institute for Education, Evaluation, and Consulting. I created this company with the explicit purpose of providing technical support to frontline organizations that make a better, safer, and more just world for all of us. We have a suite of services, including program evaluation, program design, survey design and analysis. We offer assistance on reporting out on grant requirements, among many other things. That's just a little sampling of what we do. So let's get into it. In the last workshop, we covered how grand theories connect to program theories. Here I offer a concise summarizing quote from a book on youth development that I've been reading, and the authors write, "If we make only one point in this book, it is that a good theory is an essential aspect of developing successful programs for children and youth." And I agree with that. But I would take it a little further and say that my thesis is that the good theory comes from these grand theories, these big ideas. And of course, the authors go on to talk a little bit more about where those theories come from. Although most people think of the theory of change as a diagram, it does have a really interesting history. First, it emerged out of program theories in the 60s as a method for uncovering and showing sort of the internal workings of a program as opposed to just the final outcomes. And this emerged out of a dissatisfaction with impact evaluations that just look at the final line. They don't talk about where these programs, how they've developed, what their theory for how they, make change come about. They just ignored all that and went straight to the bottom line. Second, it also came out of a social learning orientation where theories of change were used by practitioners in a group setting to kind of come to a consensus of what the program looks like. How is it designed? What does it mean? What does it look like in action? So stakeholders will come together, and it's been weeks or months, however, going through various iterations, and they'd come away with a really important sort of design for how these programs work that was shared across a lot of the different stakeholders. So really powerful tool. Today, it's not used like that very often, but that was its origins. There's no consensus really on the core vocabulary of these things, but these terms right here are very commonly used. One of the trickiest conceptual shifts, though, in the theory of change is the distinction between an output and an outcome, because they sound kind of the same. So one simple way to keep these things straight is that outputs come out of program activities, and then outcomes are the things that happen to the participants and we care about that cause change in the world because of our program. Unfortunately, a lot of nonprofits and other organizations basically stop at outputs, but we fundamentally care a little bit more about outcomes. They're more important to us. Theories of change can come in all sorts of designs and sizes and things like this, and some of them are useful and some of them are not terribly useful at all. So here I want to show really quickly, just two different designs. Here we have one out of a Department of Education for reading intervention. It's a circular design. That's one way you can sort of show your program. Here's what's called the logic model, a little more typically. I think logic models and theories of change are the same as far as I'm concerned. They have the same basic function, but this one looks more like a logic model, so a different way they can look. The theories of change are not perfect, so they have critiques, and here's a couple of them right now. So some people worry that where this theory comes from is totally unclear. They don't know, is it a program theory? Does it come from the practitioners? Who makes this theory up? Critique 2 is that they emphasize technicality and sort of diagrams and all this process at the expense of hope, that the notion of what these programs are up against and how complex they are just can't be described in a program theory. Second, the social political context is undervalued in theories of change. So if that is really important to your program, you want to pay very, very, very close attention to the theory of change as it does or does not describe parts of the socio-political context. And lastly, I want to welcome you and invite you to the third workshop, which is going to happen on October 14th. We're going to look at how theories of change can be used to predict problems in a program's design. We're going to identify and name risks and assumptions. And finally, we're going to put it all together so we can continue to work at the big picture, which is, of course, how to make theories of change that are worth believing in. So check out westerneval.com/events, and I will see you there. Thank you so much.